So I call it the mummy juggle struggle. We can call it finding balance and reclaiming your hours. Essentially, it's for people who are in this place of having to manage a family and a business at the same time, because it can be a struggle. As Casey mentioned, I'm an e-commerce strategist, business coach. I've started 7 of my own companies, about to hit my 3rd multi-million-dollar brand. Definitely a bit of a business geek. I am very proud of what I've done with Eco Originals, which is the world's greenest nappy brand and is now just gone into the US. I don't own it anymore. It's a bit of the story I'm going to share with you today, but a couple of my highlights from that brand. We've won some Telstra Business Awards. Actually, this year, I've just finished yesterday. I'm a judge for the Telstra Business Awards this year in the sustainability category, which is one of my passions. I have actually quite a lot of eco businesses that come and work with me because of the work that I've done there. And I've been 4 finalists award of Osmompreneur this year, and I was actually silver in the Business Coach of the Year. Definitely awards, guys, are important for business credibility. I recommend entering them. I've also been really lucky in my journey. Just as a little bit of a backstory, I'm going to share with you in a moment how I came to solve the mummy juggle struggle. But as a little bit of a backstory about me, I've been really fortunate to have some amazing mentors in my business career, and they include Naomi from Red Balloon and Shark Tank, as most of you know her. Justin Cameron, Surf Stitches was a $240 million online retailer at its height, and he bought Eco Originals from me and was one of my seed and round A investors. Carolyn Creswell, who most of you will know, Carmen's Muesli and Muesli Bars, was actually an amazing mentor for us when we were pitching to Coles and Woolies. And Justin Dry from Vino Mofo was also one of my mentors when I was trying to solve a problem about how to send bulky nappies out around Australia, because they send bulky boxes of wine out around Australia. Low margin, people want things quickly. So my nappy brand, just as a really brief intro on me, was turning over 2 mil when I sold it. It's now doing over 4, 350 stockists around Australia, but we really focused on e-commerce. I definitely understand a lot of the attributes of running a business, whether it be bricks and mortar, whether you're a wholesaler or a distributor or a marketplace or an online e-commerce brand, kind of have got you covered. Before that, I actually had a $3 million a year, lots of staff, did everything wrong kind of trades business. So I think that I mentioned that purely because it gave me a whole bunch of knowledge about how not to run a business very successfully. 19 staff, very stressful, and ended up now in this program, which is called the Uncomplicate. This is my current brand. I've got 5 other staff, either part-time or full-time, that work with me inside my programs. And I have a bunch of expert coaches as well. We're a Shopify, Klaviyo and Gorgeous partnered business, and we help women in particular, only women actually, if I'm really honest. We are a women coaching brand, kick-ass women, helping women to grow their brands. And we have a couple of programs we do that. Now, a little bit about me and why you're here today. So I'm a mum to 1 and a stepmom to 5. That's been an interesting journey and is a conversation for another day. I currently live in Sydney, but we're just about to move to Jervis Bay because I fell in love with a Navy sailor, and he gets moved every 2 years and we kind of just go with it. And we have a couple of little fur pooches that we love. And my previous story from where I currently am, and the one that's relevant to this conversation today, is that I was in a very toxic marriage to my co-founder of my nappy brand, and we had 3 little kids under 10, and I needed to learn a bunch of lessons in that one to teach me how not to run a business. So some of the things that I was doing wrong in my companies was I did the mouse on a wheel syndrome, and I'm just going to give you guys the physical mouse on a wheel, right? So you wake up every day and it's like an entrepreneurial Groundhog Day, right? You wake up and you're like, oh, run, kids, breakfast, oh my God, stock, orders, customers, oh my God, I haven't done an Instagram post. It's just like, right, this is what we call the mouse wheel syndrome. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of you can give me like a yes on this one. I was everything to everyone, but I put myself last. And again, I'm probably guessing that you can all relate to this if you've shown up for today's call. I juggled everything, and I'll be really honest, it's not much fun. So as I mentioned, I had 2 companies at the same time, the 3 kids under 10, a bit of a dickhead ex-husband, and it was pretty tough on me. And to make it all work, as most of you would know, I, did the morning kids juggle, dropped them at school, did like 6 or 7 hours of straight work, picked them up, did the afternoon and evening routine. And then from about 7 p.m, I'd be back on my computer till 10 or 11 every night, just to get the sheer volume of work done that I needed to get done. I'm an exceptional project manager. I considered myself a little bit special, like maybe I was bendy and I could just make it all work for a long time, until it didn't. And when it broke, it really broke. And I remember the exact moment when I realized that my whole house of cards was about to fall down. And we had this dog at the time. We were living in the Northern Rivers of New South Wales and on a farm, and we had a dog, and the dog was a little bit psycho. It was a rehomed dog that we picked up somewhere along the traps, and it would bark and I would burst into tears. I would be like, it would just be this catalyst. And there was one moment when the dog barked and I burst into tears, and I was like pretty much rocking myself in the corner of the room. And I was like, I can't do this. I'm broken. Like, there's something wrong with me. And I guess what happened for me is that I recognized that I actually broke my fight and flight indicators, because I stayed in that place of adrenal rush every day, which was like, oh my God, rush to the next thing. Oh my God, now I need to solve this. I need to deal with these customers. I need to do this. Like, that's not sustainable, guys. You can do it for short periods of time, but you cannot stay in that place. It is grossly unhealthy, and it is really unfair to ourselves and our feminine energy to push ourselves into that place for a long period of time. And I'm going to be honest, I did rock in the corner of a room for about 6 months. I had to not work. I had to have some time away from my family. I left my marriage, which was a great thing at the time, and still a great thing. But those broken fight and flight indicators are incredibly difficult to heal, unfortunately. Recognizing adrenal fatigue, particularly in women, it's not always a recognized thing. I'm just going to bring the chat box up over here. Definitely the medical fraternity don't really talk about adrenal fatigue. It's a little bit of a off the topic. Blood tests don't show it either, but you'll know it because you'll be the mouse on the wheel, and it's not healthy. So the reason I'm doing this talk today is because I want for you to recognize that moment at which you need to draw a line in the sand and say, I could probably do this for a bit longer, but I don't really want to keep on this mouse wheel. I'd really like to learn some strategies to hop off the mouse wheel. So that's what I'm going to, let me just bring this back up. That's what we're going to work on today. So what I want to talk about is a number of things today. I want to give you some indicators of why we might not want to change being on the mouse wheel. And then I'm going to teach you a bunch of strategies of how to get off the mouse wheel and some of the tools and support that you can use to have a better, more happy, free-flowing, balanced life. First of all, I see this a lot, guys. You can be stuck on the mouse wheel, but you can choose not to get off it. And so people, for me, for a long time, I couldn't get off the mouse wheel because of cash flow. And if that resonates with you, maybe pop it in the chat box, because I can see your chats. And I know for a lot of people, this does resonate. When you're in a business, and sorry, let me just flick my Slack off because it's one of my things that bips constantly. Right. When you're on the mouse wheel and cash flow is tight, maybe you've launched a new business, or maybe, I mean, look, even at 2 million a year revenue, my cash flow was still tight because I was paying, 50 grand every week or two in stock. So cash flow can stop us, as can being time poor, and definitely a lack of support around us as women. Sometimes our family may not understand why we do what we do with our business. Sometimes we just simply live in a geographic location where we don't have family support. We might just be one of those people who get a little bit, okay, I can do this. I'm gonna power through this. This is just, a little bit like the self-flagellation. I'm just gonna make this work, right? The thing is, and I'm going to explain this today, the more we push ourselves in this space, the less success we're likely to have, because being on the mouse wheel doesn't make your business grow unbelievably. It just doesn't. So I use that moment of the dog barking, and I talk about, for me, what the thing that happened here is that in my breakdown, I knew there had to be a better way to run a business. I'm a pretty resourceful, pretty kind of clever person. I said to myself, I can't run companies that way anymore. Like, I just physically don't have the energy and I don't have the time, but I really want the multi-million-dollar brands. And I don't want to not be a mum because, well, that's the most fundamental thing that I am, is a mum. how do I do that and have business success, right? All of these guys leave their families at home every day and go off to their careers and, show up at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night after they've done their big day at the office. And we've already been the house nurturers and cleaners and cooks and, knee scrapers. And how do I be that and that, right? They're two really contrasting things, but I want both selfishly. How do I do that? So I literally spent about 2 years with a bunch of mentors around the world trying to unpack this whole 4-hour work week, e-myth. There's got to be a smarter, more automated way to run companies. And I found one. So I'm going to teach you guys a few things today that worked for me. But first of all, the first thing that needs to take place is that you need to make the decision to get off the mouse wheel. And it's not good for you. It's about being reactive to everything and not proactive. So by that, I mean your day is filled with, oh my God, I need to send an order. Oh my God, I need to deal with my supplier. My stock hasn't arrived. Oh my God, I need to do an Instagram post. Oh my God, I need to reply to this customer. Whatever your version of that looks like, that's reactiveness, guys. That's not proactiveness. Proactiveness in a business is thinking over the next 6 months, what products might I integrate into what I sell? It might be, how do I expand my team to be able to cover more geographic territory? It might be, what marketing campaigns do I need to do to ensure that I've got sales that are growing? That is being proactive. And unfortunately, you can't be proactive on a mouse wheel. It just doesn't work because you're too busy running every day on that mouse wheel. You literally cannot see what's off it. So I want to give you a bit of a visual of something that I use with my clients all the time. When we're on the mouse wheel and we're going round and around and around, and I get tired even pretending to be on the mouse wheel, I go, that's exhausting. What I want for you guys is to get off the mouse wheel and simply put your hand out sometimes and give the mouse wheel a really good push. And then it keeps going next to you. And of course, the mouse wheel is your business. It's your cash flow. It's people still buying from you. It's your team, but you can't be on it to be able to run it. You need to be off the mouse wheel and you need to simply give it a good push, turn around and be a mum. Turn around and look at your business through a different set of eyes that allow you to grow the business. These are really important things. And any business that's doing more than $1 million a year, usually that's led by a woman, particularly those that have children, will know you cannot be on the mouse wheel and grow a brand. It just doesn't work. So for most of you who are on the mouse wheel, I have something to tell you. It's not fun, but it means that you are your business. And that's dangerous because that means if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, your business dissipates and is not valued at anything. And what I want for you to do is to build an asset. And by building an asset, that's a business that can be saleable. It's a business that can be run by somebody else. So even if you don't plan on ever selling it, you can put a team in to run it and you can only work a few hours a week and have a life. That is a business. What you are doing if you are on the mouse wheel is making the mistake that you are the business. And that isn't a great place to come from because, well, we need to have contingencies in life. We could get sick or hit by a bus, or someone in our family could, or we could just wake up one day and go, I don't actually love this at all anymore. I don't want to do this. So we need to know that the business is automated, systemized, process-driven, staffed preferably, and profitable so that we have the choice as to what we're going to do with it. And a long time ago, a lot of people tried to tell me that money isn't happiness, and I don't agree with them. I know that money isn't exactly happiness, but I say this: money gives us choices and choices make us happy. So the more you can get your business into a place of a higher turnover and more profitable and paying yourself, the more opportunities you have to make choices that give you happiness. So I'm going to ask you first and foremost to get really clear on what your goals and boundaries actually are. So a lot of women are accidental business owners. They've had an idea, they've jumped in, they've got some traction, and then they're kind of a bit higgledy-piggledy. They might have lots of pieces of puzzle on the table, but the puzzle isn't put together. Or they may just feel a little unclear about why they do this every day and what their end goal is. So I want for you guys first and foremost to have a think over the next week or two. Why am I doing this business? Like, what is my goal for this? And I talk a lot with my clients around boundaries to do with your business. And I talk about creating a container. And a container can be as simple as This is my business container. When I'm in my container, I'm prepared to do 25 hours a week. When I'm not in my business, I don't want to work, right? I don't want to be interrupted all the time. Or when I'm in my business container, I'd like to be earning $1,000 a week, and I'm not prepared to negotiate on that. Whatever your container is, I want for you to create a container and to write down what is your relationship with your business, and what are you prepared to put in, and what are you prepared to get out of your business? Because if we don't know what that looks like, we can't adhere to it. We can't make the decision every time we come to a fork in the road. If I go left, does that deviate me away from what my version of success is? Does it contradict my container? Is it going to take me away from what I'm actually hoping to achieve here? Because if it does, what happens is we end up doing this with our business. And to be honest, that adds to the exhaustion. 150%, that is a mouse wheel journey. What I want for you is like a highway at 100 kilometers an hour, and it's straight. And that is what happens when we get really clear on what our version of success looks like and our goals. And I like to work on 2-year goals so that you know exactly where you're heading at any point 2 years from now. In fact, I have mine on Post-it notes all over my office so that I'm like insanely clear about my next 2-year goal. Now, it is possible to have it all, guys, but it does take guts and determination. And I want to be really clear about this. The women that solve this problem and create a successful business and have a family have grit and determination and guts to make changes. I call it a little like, you know, if you have a big scab on your hand and you put a Band-Aid on it, and then you go to peek under the Band-Aid and you're like, I'm not sure if it's healed enough to take the Band-Aid off yet. I'm talking about ripping that Band-Aid off when it's not healed. Like, it hurts and it's not fun. And for a while, it's worse, because when you start to make changes in your business, you have to work harder for a little while. But I want to teach you that, let's call it, just 1 second, I need to have a drink. I have a habit of talking too fast, so I'm sorry if I have that going on today. Had a coffee already and I'm on fire. About a year after my nervous breakdown, when I'd decided on an entire new system to run my company, so let's call it 2 years, I was working 15 hours a week, pretty much every week, and my business was still growing. We got to the 2 mil turnover mark. I had 9 staff working from their homes around Australia. They all worked remotely way before COVID was, remote working was a thing. And I ran my entire team off a really amazing program called Slack. And by doing that and making my team really accountable for their role and the results that their role was to deliver to my business, I could be at home for my family. I could go for a lunch with my girlfriends in the middle of the day. I basically had my cake and I ate it too. And that's what I'm going to try and teach you some tips around today. I just want to add one thing. I was trying to find a visual on this for the presentation and I couldn't find it. If you've got flow in your business, if you're doing, reasonably good turnover, there's a possibility that you are actually the cork in the bottle of your business. And what I see a lot is a lot of fizz in a bottle and the owner's the cork. And until the owner gets out of the bottle, which is off the mouse wheel, the business can't expand and grow. And often when we get the business owner out of the bottleneck, the business actually takes off, because often businesses have their own energy and their own attraction. And if you've solved a problem that's big enough, you will have enough money coming in. If you have a problem with sales, it's probably because you haven't addressed what problem am I solving and how am I solving it for someone. But if you've got attraction to your brand and cash flow, often it's you as a business owner that is stuck in the bottleneck, and we need to get you off the mouse wheel so that your business can explode. And that is definitely a thing. And I'm going to talk today too about getting support at home. So some of the things that I'm a really big fan of when scaling a business is lean, remote team and outsourcing. And I talk a lot and teach a lot of tips about this in my programs, and we'll touch on it briefly today. Software and automation, which is very much around how to incorporate unbelievable software that exists in the world right now that's either free or cheap to completely change the face of how you run your business. And that allows us to automate parts of our business. And I have a principle which I call processes versus projects. And I want to quickly teach you guys this one. This is a really, really, really foundationally important, probably the most important thing for you to get today. If you were the mouse on the wheel and you want to get off the wheel, here's how you do it. Oh my God, my things just keep beeping, sorry. It's called processes versus projects. And what I want you to identify in your day-to-day workflow And the best way to do this is to grab a couple of bits of paper and spend a week documenting everything you do in your business. Is to firstly write down all the tasks that you do in a week, Instagram posts, answer customer emails, open the office if that's you, answer the phone. Like literally, you should have maybe 2 pages of tasks that you work on. Then what I want you to do is get a highlighter, and I want you to try and differentiate on that list what are processes and what are projects. And I'll tell you what that is right now. A process is something that happens repetitively in your business. It's something that may happen daily, weekly, monthly, or even annually, but it happens on a repeat process. So picking orders, talking to customers, answering emails, paying bills, they're all processes because they're repeat and repetitive tasks. Projects are one-off things. So that could be a new website build. It could be bringing out a new product. It could be a new marketing flyer. It could be a new team hire. They're things that you do once and it's done. So what I want for you to do on your list is to determine which are the processes, so the repeat things, and then over time, I want you to get rid of all the processes off your plate. As a business owner, to uncork you from your bottle, the only things that you should be working on in your business are projects. All of the processes that happen in your business should be either given to a team member, automated, so a software platform can make them happen in a more efficient manner than you can be doing them manually, or they're outsourced. It's only one of those 3 things, but it's not you. And I want to preface that by saying, I don't mean hire someone, dump it on them, turn around and look the other direction and cross your fingers and hope they've got it covered, because that doesn't work either. A really good leader of a business still knows everything that's going on in their business. There are absolutely still things that exist in my business. I might not do them every day, but my team tell me every day when they're done, so that I know that all of my business as a whole ecosystem is covered. I don't dump and run. That's the most dangerous way to lose team and to lose control of your business. And so, this is definitely the first place to start. And for a lot of people, once you've got your process list, so you obviously split your list into, okay, these are my projects, I need to keep doing these. These are the shitty processes that drive me mental and I spend most of my days working on. In fact, my processes keep me so busy that I don't really touch my projects, which is why it's a problem, because we're not working on our business, we're working in our business. Now, those processes, once you've split them onto rewritten them, if you like, onto its own sheet, I want you to try and cluster them into themes. So I'll tell you, just because I've been doing this for a long time, the very first one or very first 2 to start with are accounts and customer service. They're what we call the low-hanging fruit. They're things that if you're currently doing your own customer service, so answering customers, doing orders on your website, or, anything to do with customers, that is definitely one of the first places you can take off your plate if you're in overwhelm, because it's really easy to find. If you're a bricks and mortar store, it might be someone local who can come in for an hour or 2 every day to answer your customers. It could be that you use a really amazing platform if you're an e-commerce that I'm a fan of called Gorgeous, which is like seriously one of the most profound platforms I've ever seen come into online businesses in terms of its ability to transform processes in your business. And run it yourself for a little while in this new software automated way, and then hire someone to run it for you. And of course, the other one is bookkeeping, guys. You should never be doing your own bookkeeping. Definitely hire a bookkeeper. I use bookkeepers overseas who are about 17 Aussie an hour, but otherwise find someone in Oz who can do it for you. They're definitely 2 of the low-hanging fruits. And then we've got other ones from there. But try and cluster your processes and see if there's any way you can either automate, put a team member in, or outsource. They're my 3 things. I want you also to consider, how can you create a rhythm in your business? And a lot of women don't do this. We're terrible at the reactive rush. So we run, oh my God, put that fire out. Oh, I need to go and put that fire out. Oh God, I'm going to do that now. That is like exhausting. It's really bad for your health, and it's not efficient in terms of project management. So what we love to do is to help you to cluster your topics and then set a rhythm each week. That means that you maybe go, you know what? Damn it, I'm only going to work between 9 and 3 every day, and I will not do stuff at night on my computer. And I would say awesome. So when you do 9 to 3, be highly efficient and do double the amount of work in that time than you would normally do. So you don't need to do the evenings so that you can be present with your family. And that might mean, for example, that Monday between 9 and 12 is your set up the week. So you're going over last week's project management of what are the things that I'm working on this week, and I'm going to reset my rhythm for the week. It might be that Tuesdays between 9 and 11 are my accounts time. That's when I pay my bills, I check my bank account statements, I maybe make sure the accountant has everything he needs, I look at my targets for the month, and I assess where I'm at for month to date, day to day of where am I at for the month? I look at for the rest of the week. For example, if you're someone who has to get on the phone to do sales, put them all together each day in an hour or two. Don't jump on the phone, then message your kids, then pay a couple of bills, because that's jumping between energies and it's exhausting. So definitely learning to set a rhythm in your business could make a really big difference. I touched on this at the start, and another tip I really want to share with you guys is to build with the end in mind. So I like to talk about reverse engineering a business. It means that you don't have an accidental business. It means that in actual fact, you are coming from a place of saying, in 5 years' time, I want my business to be turning over $1 million a year. That means that I need to work backwards from there so that I can set a monthly target for myself that slowly and methodically walks towards that $1 million a year mark. It might be that in 2 years' time, I don't want to be working in my business really at all. I'm happy to manage it and be the leader, but I really want to do that in about 5 hours a week. And I would say that can totally be done, but you need to start making decisions today that enact and enable the business to be automated and majorly operationally strong, so that you don't have to be involved in any processes in the business, but you lead the team who do run it for you. So I love to focus on, and it sounds a bit, I don't know, doomsday-y, but if you got hit by a bus tomorrow, would anyone even know what's happening in your business? Do you have like procedures manuals? Do you have like a master spreadsheet with all your logins and passwords so that other people could come through and shut your company down? You know, like, you need to be thinking operationally, how do I make this business and put it in a container that is very transparent? Do I have a Google Drive that has everything that anyone needs to know about how to run my business, so that if I do get hit by a bus tomorrow, someone else could take it over for me? Or do I have a team that are enabled and empowered to do that for me, right? So this is a really good thing to consider, because it means that we can build a business by design and not by accident. Now, this is a really important one. I see this all the time. I call it control freakiness. And I see it a lot, and it's women in particular who are so used to being everything to everyone that they believe nobody else can do it like they can do it. Nope, I'm not going to put someone in that because only I know how to do that. No, oh, look, give it back to me and I'll do it better because I can, right? This is like the death of, this will keep you as a cork in your bottle forever. And it's, I've certainly met plenty of women who are unwilling to get off the control freaky train. And that's okay. If you want to stay stuck, no problems. That's your choice. But if you're here today because you want to make a change, and I say to people, change nothing and nothing will change, right? Change nothing and nothing will change. If you are not happy in your business and you are on the mouse wheel and it's exhausting, you cannot be a control freak. You just can't. You have to learn instead how to be an exceptional leader, because you need to be able to lead people around you to be able to run parts of your business better than you can, right? And this is the secret. I have an incredible team. In the last 6 months, I've ramped my team up to 6 women that work with me inside my brand, plus at least another 5 or 6 other guest experts that come in weekly to my programs. And I didn't advertise for a single one of those. They are all women who were in my community, who'd worked for me previously and came back and said, I want to work for you again, because I'm an exceptional leader and because my team know I have their backs completely. And in actual fact, they can do topics and processes in my business and even projects in my business way better than I can do it. So I do the things that I know I'm exceptional at, and then I find other people to do other parts better than I can do it. And that is about a business owner that is going to get out of the cork and unstop it. And just FYI, my brand has doubled its revenues in the last 30 days from what it did 30 days before, which I already thought was a personal best month. And this is because I am an exceptional leader and I have an amazing team around me. And I know that to scale a brand, I cannot possibly do it on my own. It's going to take a team to build a big, multi-million-dollar brand again. And that is the difference between somebody who stays stuck in control freakiness and somebody who recognizes that a better role to be in is the CEO or the leader. Now, on a slightly different topic, when you do have money flowing in your business, another amazing thing is to get support at home. And that means you pay for support at home so that you don't have to rely on your mother-in-law who drives you freaking nuts and who's a negative Nancy. It actually means that you pay people to help you in your life. And I know that sometimes women get uncomfortable about this. They don't want to show off in front of their friends. Maybe their husband doesn't approve. But I'm here to tell you that the women who scale brands are those that recognize that it takes a whole support team to do so, and they cannot do it themselves in exactly the same way that you do in your business. I need you to think about this in your home life. And so I'll tell you a couple of the things that I have as lessons in here. The first one is your hourly rate. So when you're running processes in your business, you're often doing a lot of tasks that are $30 an hour tasks. And that includes being the cook and the cleaner at home. It also includes being the warehouse picker or the, bricks and mortar shop clerk. It might mean that you are your bookkeeper, and it might mean that you are your customer service and Instagram girl, all rolled up in one exhausting role. Now, I want to tell you that take that hat off and put the hat on that's a $300 an hour person. This is an entire mental shift. But what it does is it teaches you that in actual fact, and look, to be really frank, I'm $1,000 an hour now. That's pretty much what I charge when I'm doing stuff. And that means that mowing my lawns, cleaning my bathrooms, doing my customer service inquiries, doing my books, I'm not going to do those things. Why would I? Because they're things I can pay someone $30 an hour to do. So recognize the things that you shouldn't be doing anymore and get help. Outsourcing anything under about $50 an hour is a really great place to start. And what that does, if you do that in conjunction, so this is probably my hot tip number 2. Number 1 was to look at your processes versus projects. And number 2, if you're just looking for some really easy things, if you're overwhelmed in your business already and you're like, hey, Lisa, that was a heap of really interesting information, but I can't do any of that right now. I'm too busy. Processes versus projects, ladies. And secondly, outsource anything under $50 an hour where you can, cash flow permitting. This is why I'm saying that money can make you happy, because when you have a turnover in your brand, you can spend money to get support at home. And it is worth ramping up your sales just to be able to pay for some support at home. Gives you time to spend with your family. So I want to give you 5 tips of things that you could free up your time with by taking some things off your plate for at home. The first one is a cleaner. I'll be honest, I have a fortnightly cleaner. They scrub shit. I love it. My husband and I do the vacuuming in between. That's about it. And that makes me really happy. Secondly, over the years, particularly when my kids were little, I always had a nanny, and it can look like an afternoon nanny. And in fact, that's what I'm going to employ later this year, is an afternoon nanny again. Usually they start anywhere between 1 and 3. They might come in, do a little bit of cleaning, change the sheets on the beds, do some tidying, potentially get the kids from school or the bus stop, do afternoon tea with the kids, homework with the kids, start to prep dinner, and leave again by about 5:36 with dinner on the table. And I think that is an unbelievable investment. I tend to run that kind of stuff through my business as a team member, although you didn't hear that from me because I'm not a financial accountant. So speak to your accountant about that. We also at the moment are getting Marley's Spoon, which is a little like HelloFresh, which is just one less thing. I don't have to do big grocery shops. It's just an easy to follow process at night. But you could even hire, I know women who run companies who just have a cook that comes in once or twice a week, cooks a bunch of food in their kitchen, puts it in their spare fridge, and then they just grab a lasagna, they grab a frittata, they grab a salad. It's all just in their fridge ready for them to eat for the week. It all depends on your budget, and it all depends on which of the things you hate doing. Find the things. I hate cleaning with a passion. It is so far down my list of priorities that I know that's one of the first things I always outsource, regardless of money. I make it happen. Mowing the lawns or gardening, that's definitely an area. So is laundry. There's a really great coach in a different space to me that I know who does a couple of mil a year through her brand. And she has a full-time housekeeper, afternoon kids tutoring. Someone does her laundry, someone cooks all of her food. In fact, someone puts the food on the table at breakfast, lunch, and dinner for her entire family. Someone else does the gardens. That is her choice. That maybe to me is a little over the top, but find your happiness in there that allows you to get the support so that you can, instead of finishing work at 3 or 4, racing through a whole afternoon of home chores and kids stuff, and then grumping at them, and then being shitty at your husband when he comes home and snapping his head off and starting World War III. Wouldn't it be nice to not have to do that shitty stuff and to, in actual fact, at 5:30, pour yourself a glass of wine or a cup of tea, sit with your family, talk about their days, laugh with them, put dinner on a plate, have a nice family dinner and watch some TV? Wouldn't that be a much better afternoon or evening? Right. Another lesson for you, this will be number 3, guys, will be paying yourself properly. So women, look, all business owners in particular, and that is probably, I'm going to say maybe 80% of business owners are terrible at looking at their numbers. They're also pretty bad at cash flow, and they're not very good at understanding or valuing themselves in the business cash flow structure. Now, on top of that, I would say women are worse than men and women in business. So women in business tend to put numbers to the side. Again, probably 80% of women are like, oh, no, I'll just pay some bills. It'll be all right. Next month we'll make it up, right? Most women don't pay themselves. And I would ask you, if someone came along to you and said, hey, Lisa, I've got an idea. Would you come and work 60 hours a week in my company and do that for the next year? And I don't want to pay you though. Is that okay? Would you do that? You're going to be like, hell no. So why would you do it for yourself, guys? Like, don't do it. Like, set yourself this whole idea that your new priority list when it comes to your cash flow is that you get paid first. You see, without you, you don't really have a business. You're in actual fact your business's biggest asset. So if you don't pay yourself and recognize that you are your business's biggest asset, what kind of message does that send to your psyche? No wonder you sometimes feel a little disheartened and a little exhausted and maybe not very inspired to be doing the new projects you need to work on in your brand. So my rule is you, then your team, and then everything else, including suppliers. That is how cash flow should happen. And when you shift to this, everything shifts. What that does is it says to yourself, first of all, you'll get a pep in your step. What it also says to the universe is, hey, I'm valuable and I want to earn more money because I want to pay myself more. And even if it is literally $20 a week that you automatically set up as a debit from your business account to your personal one, and maybe once a week that's you taking yourself out for lunch, that is a start. If you can, try and grow it weekly or monthly so that you are eventually paying yourself $1,000 a week or $2,000 a week. And you are like, I am valuable. I am worthy in this business. And I promise you, you will have so much more passion and excitement to grow your brand. Right. If you're an e-commerce business, or even if you're a bricks and mortar store and you want to go to e-commerce or sell something online, which, let's face it, is all of you right now because COVID is too difficult to not have an online presence. My magic 5, if you're selling online, is Shopify for websites, 150%, the only e-commerce platform that you should go to if you haven't already. WooCommerce isn't too bad, but Shopify is by far the best because it connects as an ecosystem to all of these other platforms, and it's pretty simple. Klaviyo for emails, Xero for your bookkeeping and accounts, Gorgeous for customer service, as I said, insane platform. Do a demo and check it out. And Stamped for reviews and potentially a loyalty program. They're kind of like my magic 5. And then for any outsourcing or team that you need to find that are low cost, I use Upwork, and that is pretty much my lifesaver. I usually have 1 to 5 different team members on Upwork every week that are billing me. And it could be, I'll give you some examples. I've got some new membership portals being built at the moment. So I have some people in India doing some Kajabi work for me. I have a bookkeeper on there. I have just all kinds of different little, it could be helping me with projects. It could be your customer service person that does 10 hours a week from the Philippines. It could also be your social media poster. There's a million things you can use Upwork for. It's amazing. And so, guys, we're going to move on to Q&A in a sec, but I'm just briefly going to mention, if anyone's interested, I do a 12-week done with you program called the E-commerce Academy. You can find information on my website. I clicked a link at the start for the longer version of this topic, which is called the Mummy Juggle Struggle. I've got an ebook on it if you want to download that. It's got heaps more ideas in there of things that you could do. You can follow me on Instagram. I've got a Facebook group where I give free strategies and videos pretty much every day of the week. And on my website are some more free resources for you. So you can feel welcome to jump on and grab some more of that stuff if you're interested. And I'm going to throw back over to Casey to run some Q&A now if anyone's got any questions for me.
Thanks, Lisa. That was super interesting and very informed. I don't have children, so I don't have the mummy juggle struggle, but I actually took a lot of valuable information out of that I can implement just into my regular
Totally. Day. And look, I hate to say just for mummies because there's heaps of amazing business women who don't have kids, but it just happens to be that 99% of the women I work with are mums, but definitely it applies to anyone in business, even men. Like there's heaps of aspects of being a dad and being a business owner that would apply for exactly the same tips in this webinar.
Yeah, no, it was great. Thank you. Alrighty, so Amy has asked a question. Is that meant to Shopify? Shopify. Okay. Is Shopify good for selling online courses or better for products that you would post?
You can do both on Shopify for sure. Lots of people do use Shopify. I actually use WooCommerce to do my online selling of programs. Just because it's WordPress based, it gives us a little bit more flexibility to integrate member portals and stuff. So I probably would potentially consider going with Woo for courses, but you can certainly look at Shopify for sure.
And I actually saw, I think it was yesterday. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Zoe Foster-Blake's go-to skincare brand.
100%. Biggest girl crush brand I've got on any product brand out there.
It's amazing. She does so well, but apparently her whole platform is Shopify.
Yeah, well, in fact, my nappy brand, we started on Woo, but they're at about 2 million mark. They've actually switched over to Shopify. And when you get a high enough volume of sales on your Shopify platform, you move to Shopify Plus, which is most likely what GoTo are on. So, and look, Zoe Foster-Blake just sold a controlling interest in GoTo Skincare for $89 million, like a couple of weeks ago. So let's assume they're doing a pretty significant turnover in probably the tens of millions and they're on Shopify. So you don't have to get stuck if you scale. Shopify's got you the whole way.
Yeah, great. Excuse me, sorry. How do your staff report to you that they are doing their tasks or processes?
Brilliant. Good question, Amy. So I use Slack and we have channels in there. So Slack is a team comm platform and team communication platform, sorry. So I don't use emails ever internally in my business, like ever. In fact, if you do any emails inside of your company, you're making a big mistake because emails get lost. So I teach that emails are only for external parties and potentially customers, although I actually don't do customers on email either. I do customers email into Gorgeous and we manage it all from an app. But Slack is life-changing and I have probably about 30 different channels inside Slack and each of my team members has their own reporting channel in there. So at the end of every day or at the end of every week, depending on which role it is, they have to upload to me the hours they've done that week and what milestones they hit that week in terms of sales team, it's numbers, support team, it might be new members to the group. Like I'm finding benchmarks and metrics that I can track my team. And my biggest tip on staff when you bring them on is to make them accountable for their actions and understand what success looks like in that role. The biggest mistake I see business owners make with staff is to put them in a job and let them flap around like a wet fish, where the staff member actually has no idea if they're successful in that role or not. So I tell people from the start, if you do X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, then you'll be doing an amazing job and we'll love what you're doing. And I touch in on my team every week and I show them gratitude for the things they've done well and maybe give them some support on the things they might do better. By doing that, you will have, like I said, 3 of my staff came from my nappy brand. They quit and came to work for me in my coaching brand because they were like, we're just waiting for you to employ us again because we love to work for you. So I think that might help you in understanding how to track their tasks and processes. Yes.
Awesome. So Leanne has asked, this may be a tad off topic, but I'll ask just in case, is India Mart any good to deal with to buy products?
Leanne, I'm not sure. I don't even know who India Mart is. I'm assuming it's maybe a bit like Alibaba, but for India, for finding manufacturing. I would suggest if you're unsure, perhaps use a broker who can help you to source product. It's definitely also one of those things where you could invest a little bit of cash with some manufacturers off India Mart for samples and just see if you're happy with them. But like I said, I haven't heard of India Mart. I would just on that, for anyone importing from overseas, I definitely recommend backup manufacturers outside China. I do believe that our trade relationship with China is going to get smashed in the next few years. Unfortunately, there's a lot of writing on the wall that doesn't look healthy. So I would be most definitely looking at India, Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia and other kind of countries, in Vietnam maybe, to have backup manufacturers if you do import products, just to make sure that if something goes offline there, you can turn it online somewhere else.
That's great advice. Okay, Amanda has asked, how do you get past the block of committing to outsourcing but unsure if you will get enough income to justify? Or do you wait for a consistent income before committing? I just don't know when to make the move to outsourcing.
Amanda, that is a fantastic question. I'm really glad you've asked that. The answer from my perspective is that every time I make a hire, I wonder, can I afford that? But what it does, and so I guess what I'm trying to say is that going to an edge is sometimes not a bad thing. It's the same as when you commit to a coaching program or something. Like if you're not like, oh, that's a lot of money, am I going to get value from it? Then you probably shouldn't be doing it because that's a good place to be. But in saying that, the thing that makes this work is that if you're outsourcing something for, like I've got a team member at the moment, all of my team are in Australia bar one who's in the Philippines, and I pay her $8 an hour. And so I go like, so B does a bunch of topics for me that are, uploading videos, doing stuff that are just shitty topics and tasks. And I go, would I be better in that 3 hours that B just freed up to me that cost me, let's call it $35? Could I make more income in that 3 hours than $35 of income? And of course I could, right? Same for you, Amanda. If you find somebody else and they cost you X amount of money, consider what would I do with those hours? And of course, eventually I want you to be spending them with your family if you want. But in the meantime, what could I be doing with that little block of hours that I take off my plate every week that might double or triple my investment in that outsourced person? So that's the kind of risk that as a business owner, you cautiously take to know that it's actually up to you to make more money to cover that outsourced person. However, if you don't outsource it, you can't do more on growing the income. So at some point, you just have to take the jump.
Awesome. Can you recommend any Shopify app developers?
Not app developers. I'm assuming that's actually a fairly tech question there. I know lots of Shopify web devs that we work with our clients, but in terms of developing a new app, no, honey, sorry, I don't. We don't recommend our clients do apps. We recommend they use existing apps or plugins, not custom something different. So yeah, I can't help you with that one, sorry.
That might be a good thing to have a chat with some of our business advisors about as well. If you wanted to have a chat, we have a lot of our team actually work with Shopify, so they might even just have some people to link you with. Sally has asked here, do you have a process for selling your business?
Yeah, look, I've sold 2 companies so far. It's a very big, very complicated process. It's not a simple, easy thing to do. I would avoid it if I could. I think for me, building businesses now is not about selling. It's about being able to get a really good income from them long term. But certainly start with your accountant, and your accountant will recommend a commercial lawyer. And between the two, I wouldn't go your existing lawyer. I would find a commercial lawyer who specializes in selling businesses, because it's quite a complicated thing. But understand that you want to be pretty serious. I would negotiate heads of agreement with a potential purchaser before I would do any legals. I spent 35 grand in 12 months on lawyers to draft agreements that never got used with someone to purchase our brand. So it is most definitely a complicated minefield, and the lawyers, even though they might seem to be there for you, are really often there to add more clauses into each other's legal terms so that they can earn more revenue. So definitely go into it with your eyes wide open.
Yes. Where can you go to find their plugin software and app programs that are available? If you hadn't have mentioned them, they wouldn't have known.
Perfect. Look, the software ecosystem is quite easy to Google and find yourself, but you need to know what problem you're solving in order to know what to type into Google. That's where I would be of the opinion, find a really good business advisor, whether it's, Business Connect or whether you come into one of my programs. We obviously recommend a certain number of software solutions for our clients so they don't have to research it themselves, but most definitely plugging your problem into Google and then getting to see what it comes up with and researching each of those platforms will help you.
Perfect. What tool do you use for your time management, project management?
Yeah, look, I use Asana with a couple of my external companies that do work for us. So you definitely could use Asana. We tend to use Slack actually to manage our team projects because we have very specific channels in there for particular projects, and we all upload stuff every day and we keep communicating about it. If you have an extensive team, the next level up that applies Asana and Slack and had a baby is called Monday.com. So if you're looking for an even better platform that is all your team communication and all your project management in one platform, I would look at Monday.com. And
just as an addition to that, the BEC uses Trello really well. If you actually set it up properly from the start, it's a really good option for a smaller team.
Awesome.
Do you use any third-party inspection companies for quality control when manufacturing overseas?
Sure, definitely. I recommend people do, particularly on their first couple of orders before there's a trust relationship that's established between you and your manufacturer. You can do random audits. You can do that every, whether it's a part container or a full container gets checked. You can do lots of stuff in that space, and there's plenty of companies in China that will do that for you. We only did that really on our first and second container in my nappy brand, and then we had forged a pretty significant relationship with our manufacturer by then, and we had manufacturing agreements, which I will add are difficult to legally enforce, but they were quite specific, being Australia and China being two completely different legal countries. We probably could have hired Chinese lawyers to try and enforce the agreement because it was signed off by our Chinese partner, but fortunately we never had to enforce anything in there. But we did have quite clear agreements that said, if there's a manufacturing problem, this is the rectify, how does this get rectified? And we just were quite, I won't say lucky, because I went through 7 manufacturers and visited them all in China and produced through 2 before I found one that we worked with for like 6 years. But yes, you absolutely can do that, and you should, certainly in your first couple.
Perfect. And Fiona has asked, if one is suspecting they have adrenaline fatigue, where would you suggest they start looking for support?
Awesome. So that's a great question, Fiona. I would Google the hell out of adrenal fatigue syndrome symptoms first. Check if the symptoms, things like hair loss, weight gain, needing sugar to get through the afternoon, being extra teary. There's a whole bunch of things that will be listed as symptoms of adrenal fatigue. Unfortunately, adrenal fatigue is not a medically recognized condition, and nor does adrenal fatigue often show up in blood tests. So it makes it a little difficult to diagnose. I actually had to self-diagnose this after a lot of, I also got a naturopath's and a Chinese acupuncturist support to try and re-engage my adrenal system, if you like, through herbal supplements and through acupuncture. I did and do get blood tests every 6 months. I do that ongoingly and have for the last 7 years to try and manage my own levels, just to make sure that my, my iron and my, cholesterol and all the things that are right. But blood tests are, these days, they only really check for about 10% of things. It's not it's a difficult topic, but I would find a really good naturopath. Or I also recently found an integrated general practitioner who randomly is someone who was a naturopath and then did their medical degree and was also a GP, and they were able to dig a little deeper. So I would say let your fingers do the walking and trying to Google this topic and self-diagnose, which is an unfortunate part of what Google's brought to our world these days, along with telehealth appointments. I rock up to my telehealth appointments and I tell my doctor what I think's going on. Yeah, I would start with Googling it and seeing if it resonates first.
Great. Cool. Rachel has just asked, any tips on how to avoid burnout at the start of a business journey when cash flow is low and you're unable to afford to outsource straight away?
Yeah, Rachel, also a really good question, because it is difficult in that particular moment. The thing that I highly recommend in this moment is to grow your cash flow as quickly as you can, and to do that is to get some really good business strategy and support from mentors. We've got about 120 women in my academy program, and they're all in the same boat as you, often in that $0 to $5,000 a month revenue, often almost always have little kids at home, exhaustion, all of that kind of stuff, and overwhelm, and also the cloudiness of not sure which things to focus on first. The thing that we want for them is to move their cash flow needle as quickly as possible through some quick wins, so that they can then afford to do some of the automation and outsourcing. And then obviously as they grow, then all the other strategies come in play. But I would say that the quickest thing is to try and get your sales up so that you actually can afford to take some of that stuff off your plate.
Great. And just, I'm conscious of time, so I'll just ask you this one last question from Amanda. How do you switch between a grumpy toddler and then showing up to work without pulling your hair out?
You don't. Look, I might look glamorous today, but yesterday or tomorrow I'll have a mum bun, dirty hair, and I won't have showered for 3 days, and I'll have kids knocking on the door going, how do I do this maths? Like, it's just life. You just make it work, honey. You show up and you get glamorous occasionally, and the rest of the time you just you just have to make it work. That balance is pretty much everything we've talked about today. I think give yourself a break, give yourself a hug. One thing I will say just really quickly on this, the Dalai Lama supposedly once said, every human must spend 30 minutes on their own every day. And I find for women, we don't do this. So the thing that I would say to you, Amanda, is actually to find, it might not be 30 minutes, it might be 10 minutes to go and sit in the garden, get someone else to look after the kids for 10 or 15 minutes, take a warm cup of tea, feel the sun on your face, close your eyes, and fill your own bucket. Imagine you literally have a bucket, and every day you're thinking, what is one thing I could do today that would put something back in my bucket? Because all you do as mums and business owners is empty your bucket to everybody else. So think of something, and it might be going for a walk on your own, or it might be sitting in a park with meditation music. Whatever is your jam, find something to fill your bucket every day. That will mean that you don't feel as resentful switching between grumpy toddlers and work.
Perfect. Thank you, Lisa, for answering all of those questions and for your great presentation. Thank you to everybody that joined us this morning and spent an hour of your morning with us. I hope that you found some valuable insights in Lisa's presentation. And that's it. So thank you again, Lisa, for the 2 webinars that you actually did for us. They were both great. And thank you to everyone for joining us. I will send an email out with some information, and I'll pop in the link that Lisa popped into the chat in case you missed it. And have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. I'm glad you came along. Bye.